Shut up. No. No. Sorry, guys. I have to yell at the dogs. Can you hear them? I don't know if you guys can hear them. It might be through my hopefully my headphones stop them out. All right. Hi, guys. Let me know if you can hear me. Rough. Good. Thank you, Michael. Man, I hear me, but you'll hear the dog. So that's good enough. Thanks, guys. All right. So whatever happened last week, remember I was fighting with it because I had to have the new computer system all over the place. Now I've got my old laptop behind me, and then I have my new with my two screens in front of me. I was thinking of getting like one big long curved screen, but I don't know. This might not be the year for that. Anywho, do you guys hear that when the phone rings? So I hope you guys are having a good week. We're getting through, right? It's Wednesday, my favorite day. All right, so Kevin was in the house, but Kevin had to go to an appointment. Kevin was asking about YouTube commercials on the replays, and I'm like, yeah, they're there. Okay. I don't know. Can you guys see all the comments that are made before the show actually starts, or just the ones once you pop into it? I feel like it might be only when you pop into it, but they should be. I don't know. Anyway, it was about the commercials, and I'm like, yeah, we have the commercials. All right, so we have, that was Kevin Johnson, of course, from Tennessee, but he had to leave. Dolphins in the house. That's RD. Hi, RD. Kent Ramsey. Hello. Michael Horsley. Nice to see you, and thanks for confirming you could hear me. Trying to think what else is going on. I know I'm going to just babble, I guess, unless you guys pop up a question, and we'll take it from there. But who else do I see? I see DLZ says he or she is here in class. Have we met before? That doesn't look like a familiar name. Oh, RDM. Oh, did you change your name again? No more Danny? Okay. Anyway, good to see you. That's right. I should have known it was you when you said in the class. You're so funny. All right. So I was just looking at this SSA press release page. Oh my God. They will hopefully simmer down. Do you know I babysit a fourth dog? Yeah. I'm a sucker. But what do you do? Yeah, so apparently today, well, maybe it was yesterday, but the commissioner met up with the National Federation of the Blind. So any of you who have SSD based on blindness might be interested in that. I guess it was just driving home. You know how they work together. And when you're blind, you have different rules than everybody else. I mean, obviously there's listing level blindness. And the SGA is different. So a blind person who, and I hope I don't say this the wrong way, they're not disabled bodily, pain-wise and everything. It's just one of the senses that are seriously, if not completely, impaired from working what it's supposed to do. And truly the same might be the same for deaf, but they don't have special rules for the deaf, I don't think, in terms of much higher SGA levels and stuff. So, and it makes some sense in a way that, you know, lacking in sight, you could do 1,000,001 things. So they allow them to do that and make a little bit more money so they're not squelched. So that I appreciate. They also, what also came out, I'll probably do something on this depending on what I find it when I read it. It came out a couple weeks ago, but I'm a little slow. The commissioner also shared the fiscal year-end update. As you know, the fiscal year-end is the end of September. So that will be interesting. Also, in late October, they visited the field office in New York, pretty much to demonstrate the uptick in expanded in-person disability hearing services for the whole Hudson Valley region. I think we talked about that. Prior to that, a number of weeks before that, they visited a New Jersey field office to run over and assess the impact of the higher technologies that they have now in 2025 on customer service. And a week and a half before that, they visited a Kansas field office also to discuss customer service improvements and get some feedback. Prior to that, it was a West Virginia office. So it's good to see them actually going out, I think, into the fields and doing some field work and getting some real insight from the people that work in those fields. That's just my opinion. What do you guys think? Let's see. Deanna's here. Hi, Deanna. 26 days and counting. I know, my dear. Yes, yes, yes. I eat, sleep, and breathe you every day between now and then. Actually, going back a few weeks. That's what we do. Oh, Michael's saying, so we're going down, guys. I'm going to try to hit on any questions. Michael says that Walter says CDRs are going to increase. What say you? I have not seen any policy change to that effect. I always just chalk up things because they all seem to end up coming up false, and everyone gets all hyped up, and there's a lot of clickbait, and people make a lot of money off their clickbait. I haven't seen it happen. I haven't seen the policy that says that is to happen, or that, because remember, CDRs are based on diary dates, which are based on medical decisions, right? For the medical experts. Now, if one is going to say, well, I'm getting a CDR because I'm suddenly working a lot, well, that's not based on medical. That's based on, it's triggered by the work. So if, yes, people are finding there are more jobs, particularly part-time jobs for disabled people, because more jobs are opening up, I could see there's going to be more CDRs because of those jobs. I love it when my people go back to work when they want to have more income, as long as it's done properly within the rules and with the consciousness that you have a disabled condition that stops you technically and or in actuality from working over a certain amount. It's completely doable. I've never ever had a person who I worked with on getting back to work lose their disability because of going back to work. Assuming they were trying to stay without losing it. I mean, if you want to do a ticket to work because you want to get off disability, power to you. The SSA will work with you on that. That's the ticket to work program. But I would say the vast majority of people don't want that. They recognize that they're not going to be able to do a sustained full-time job or SGA job for very long. And the difficulties of even like an expedited reinstatement to get back on is maybe not worth what they know is going to be an unlikely result, that they are going to be unable to sustain it. And having to redo this whole thing again just doesn't seem like fun. Plus, if they're using an attorney, they're probably going to pay another fee. So, granted, it's out of the found money, the back benefits, but nonetheless, it's still something to consider. So I haven't seen an indication of that yet, Michael. But if, say, fraud is being investigated more, so for all the right reasons, there might be more CDRs, but definitely not for, as far as I've heard anyway, increase in CDRs, I just haven't seen it. I haven't seen it or heard of it. But I've seen a lot of the, oh my God, everyone's going to get CDR. I've seen all the titles and all the little clickbait titles and all that business. And I just ignore, there's too much work to do. I guess if you don't have a lot of casework of your own, maybe that's what you do. Or maybe, I don't know. I'm just saying, I don't see what anyone is saying, except if he's referring to fraud is being investigated. You know, the last thing we want is another Eric Kahn debacle. If you guys look it up if you want. Huge case of, oh my gosh, I might be saying this wrong. Was it like $500 million of scammed monies by a lawyer? That would be Eric Kahn. And it was in the Midwest, and doctors all scamming. And yeah, I think all those cases probably should have a CDR, unfortunately. Diana, you're very kind. I appreciate you also. Justin Zane is in the house. How's it going? Nice and warm by you, I bet. I don't know if you can see out my window. You really can't because of the glare, but we are snow covered. We've had single-digit days, below zero day here and there. I should say night in the last couple of weeks. Caribbean love in the house. Joy is the best squire. Well, thank you. Very sweet. Can you tell I represent these guys? RD says, I'm feeling very frustrated with DDS taking their time during the appeal process. How can we get the SSA commissioner to speed up the process? Well, they actually already have overall. You just haven't felt it yet. Other people have. I think as of the summer, it was sped up about 25%. But that's in a big scheme, right? That's like the whole country, Dolphin. So that means that some got really sped up and some didn't, and the average is like 25%. So you might be, not in that 25%. I have a case that's on recon appeal. It is endlessly old. I didn't start the case, but I don't know that has anything to do with why it's taken so long now. I do believe I think I did the recon appeal though, and we are hanging out, and it's two years in, so that's exceedingly long, and it's supposed to be a case that's supposed to have priority, a veteran. So I'm just always shooting up stuff. Anytime I get anything, I'm like dong dong up there. So hopefully I want a positive result. I want it on recon. I don't want to go to ALJ hearing. I want my guy to have his day. It's very frustrating. But then my other ones, there's a whole mishmash. I have more that go faster now, and that's probably the 25%, but I have some that don't. So it'll depend on how does the state government, because although this is federal, remember the DDS workers are all state workers. So how does the state handle their workers and their workload? That is the question. I don't know the answer. There's 50 states. I don't delve into it. Some regions in the state do a much better job than others. Some states probably do a much better job than others. So it's really hard to put your finger on it, Christina's in the house from California. Nice to see you, Christina. Justin Zane says, is 2034 the 20% decrease in benefits? I think what Justin is referring to, guys, is a hypothetical where if things continue the way they have been the last couple years, and I'm going to look into that when I get a chance, Justin, because I want to see every spring or summer, an updated report comes about where the state of the funds are. And it's from the trustees, and I read them. And in I have to look at the date, but I think it was like 2019 or something, 2020, when the 2020 report came out which would cover through September of 19. So it's a 6-month lag after the end of the fiscal. That one had our fund, Justin, pushed out insolvency till the year 2065. It went boom, boom, and it was because of obviously a good economy, amongst other things. And then things changed for the next few years after 2020, and it got pulled back to like 2035 or something. So whether that's going to change or not, and remember the 20% decrease in benefits is if they allow that to happen. That doesn't mean it's set in stone. They've been saying this. I got to tell you guys, if you look at the reports going back to 2010, 2011, 2012, because I went through all of them. I haven't done it in a couple years, but I was really going through it because I wanted to see what kind of policies were going on at the time or preceding, and what if there was a correlation to the solvency or the strength of the funds. And back in like 2010, 11, 12, 13, 14, we were out by 1 year, not 8 years. It was so bad. It was about to fall over a cliff like year to year. And they made some policy changes in 15, 16 to curb that in. For instance, they eliminated the spousal benefit practice that was kind of really good for people in retirement. They took away not the spousal benefit, but they made it so that if you took the spousal benefit, you were taking your own and you were no longer able to let your own grow to age 70. That was a big, huge, I think the estimated amount that was going to cost every couple was $60,000 who would have been doing that. So they nipped that in the bud. I think 15 or 16, it's in one of the congressional things that were signed off by the president then. There was a couple things they did. Oh, in 15, 16, they were pushing to and did change the treating provider rule. There's all sorts of little tweaks they do that will end up affecting the solvency because it just leaves more money in the funds, I suppose. The only one that I see that doesn't hurt somebody is to increase the economy, because all the money, or 85% of the funds that go into the Social Security funds, are from the laborers. So if you have a strong labor market, lots of people working, people encouraged to work, blah, blah, blah. So all the policies that end up getting people to want to work tend to make a bigger labor force, and our Social Security funds are the strongest because that's where most of the money comes from. So you keep feeding it in a healthy manner instead of starving it. I think you're going to have much better results, and you don't have to start making these tweaks to start reducing benefits here and there like we've seen over the last 15 years. Where are we at? Okay. But anyway, going back, when they put that number out there, that's if they don't do anything. That's where the numbers appear to stand based on a hypothetical models and all that kind of stuff. And I mean, it's important to look at, but generally I never see them allowing it to happen. Even when they went 1 year away, they snapped it up. They screwed some people, but that's not the issue, right? I disagree, as you know. We have Diana Gillespie. Hi, Diana. I'm 59. I applied for disability by phone December 2nd. Okay. They never asked how far I can walk. Okay. So Diana, when you apply, you are just giving notice that you are applying. You are clinching a date of application. You're giving some basics that office, which is the field office, can determine if you're even eligible to apply. They get the basic information they need to get that application then moved on to the DDS, which is the medical workup office, which usually resides in your state. Sometimes it gets shuffled off to another state, a support group, because your state might be overburdened and have too many. But they don't decide it at your field office, my dear. Not at all. Those are like intake people. They just do a little data entry, get it all figured out. They do have some input as to, well, when would her alleged onset date be? When did she say she last worked? Had she had any big, long gaps before that? If they're doing their job, they're going to find that out. If they're the one helping you figure that out. A lot of times they drop the ball and they just give you the date that you last left work. And sometimes you actually could have gone back another year or something like that. So that's like that's a work analysis step that I'd say they probably usually don't do, but I have seen it on occasion. But anyway, all that stuff, you're going to be getting a demand for your function report, Diana. We do have a whole playlist on all the questions in the function report to give you some guidance on what they mean so that you don't make mistakes. But as of now, you're good. If it was just December 2nd, and you did it by phone, so they got your attestation by phone, so you don't need to wait for them to send a printout to you for you to hand sign. So the problem with doing it on phone, guys, in my opinion, and I know some people have to do it by phone, so don't take this the wrong way, still do it. It's better to do it at all than not do it. When you do it by phone, you have no way of knowing what they recorded of you having said. So imagine, Diana, and this did not happen, Diana, but just hypothetically, imagine a person phones in and the person does ask them all these questions and they give them the answers, and the answers that come out later in the file as it goes to the next step, you know, the medical people that do the actual workup say things that you never even said. How do you prove that? You don't have a receipt. You don't have anything. I would never do it by phone, but I understand some people do. So you have to deal with that. But just saying, it's better to have it done online, I believe, is probably the best way of all, because you can print out your entire answer set at 2 stages. We can do it at any time, actually. You just go to the review page and print it. But at the end, it also reminds you, if you read the fine print, and many people don't, I get a lot of people who already applied, and I go, did you keep your receipt with all your answers? Like, no, I didn't see a button. It's a link in some of the lingo they give you. They expressly say, we recommend you print this, so you can know what you said, so that if you find that something you put in there is wrong, like you did a typo or whatever, everyone does, you can alert them to it if it's material. If it's not material, it doesn't matter. Inheritance is in the house. I don't know any. Inheritance, who always is a wise guy, says any juicy cases of ALJ being sued for defamation. I don't know of anybody. I haven't researched any, and I didn't see. I don't think that, you know how I do the Friday Fraud Law Review? Just a goofy little segment, because I'm always all about that. You know, anyone who rips off the disability fund, disabled people, or seniors are my nemesis. But they don't put things like that in there. It's all, it can be, they do workers. I just haven't seen them do anything about ALJs, probably because most of them are pretty straight up. But no, if you have one, email it to me, because I would, like, if you see a news article or something, I would be curious. And not just some YouTuber saying it. I'd like to see the actual authoritative link to at least a newspaper or online, you know, some sort of authority. That would be interesting. Sued for defamation. That's going to be that would have to be something that's in his decision. You can't be defamatory in a private meeting because it's not being published to third parties where your reputation could be earned. So it has to be in his decision, right? Curious, Inheritance, what you're talking about. Unless you're just feeling defamed. Everyone feels defamed. It doesn't mean they are. It doesn't mean they weren't derogatorily spoken about, but it doesn't mean it's actionable defamation. Slander, defamation. There are strict rules to it. Okay. La Lulu's in the house. I'm here without the highlighted handle, as I couldn't swing the benefactor. Don't you even worry. Listen, don't you even worry. I hope to support you. No, you already are. Don't you worry. Just being here is awesome. Seriously. Inheritance, I'm going to have to call you out on this one. Inheritance says you should share your office number, but it's on the website. Inheritance. It's probably even on the YouTube channel page. Yeah, website. You got it. Michael says raise the cap. I agree with you. Michael's talking about raising the cap. I believe, Michael, tell me if I'm wrong, on the amount of annual income a person has that is subject to Social Security taxes. Because remember, those are the monies that go into our funds. Versus above the cap, which once you make above the cap, none of that extra money you earn, the more wealthier aspects of your money earned, are taxed. And the right now, what is it, Michael? It's like is it like 176 or something? $176,000. I'm just throwing out a number, guys. It's probably not entirely accurate, but it's close to it. The first $176,000 is taxed with the 12.7% for SSA, SSD, SSR, all the whole Social Security. And hey gosh. And it goes up with COLA. It does. However, I can't, I would say, Michael, that's probably, if we have to stick it to somebody, and I don't like sticking it to anybody, I'd rather see better management. I think people need to do their jobs that are getting paid nicely to do their jobs. However, if we have to, that would be my way to go to. That would be my number one choice, is raising the cap. And I'd probably raise it to, I don't know, maybe $250 a person, maybe more, maybe not cap it. Oh, can you imagine that? I don't know. And again, I'm not about sticking it to wealthier people at all, particularly when, but there is a cap. The only problem that might be, Michael, is that it is insurance, and what you pay is what you get out. So if the cap is increased, I do think the amount of the payments, potentially, I haven't thought this all through, have to actuarially, meaning the payments for the person that pays in that much more, has to go up accordingly. So I don't know what you think about that. And would that then therefore detract from it all by doing that? I don't know. I don't know. I don't know if it would. Would that like be a net zero? I don't know, because I don't know the numbers. But maybe just changing the calculations a little bit. I mean, it is a social program. It's not a capitalistic program. So I guess if you're a little bit social on it, you might tip it a little bit more. I don't know. Hello from Florida, from Glamour Girl. Hi, Glamour Girl. Saida says, Saida, am I saying that right? I'm sorry if I'm butchering it. The Appeals Council remanded my case back to the ALJ with the specific remand orders, asking the ALJ to add all my manipulative limitations and reassess my RFC in issue a new decision. Bingo. That is like a very clear and concise example of what remand does. Apparently this ALJ didn't include any manipulative limitations that not only did the claimant potentially claim, but there was indication in the medical file that there were, in fact, manipulative limitations. But he didn't include any discussion of any of them, is my guess. And therefore, when he said there was he didn't mention in the RFC paragraph limitations to fingering and handling. Usually that's what manipulative means. Then that means that she could constantly finger and handle. And if she has, say, arthritis in her fingers or carpal tunnel syndrome affecting the fingers, either affecting them each time she uses them or affecting them in the duration. Like you can use them for 15 minutes, but then they get all stiff and burning and whatever. All that matters. You can't do a job that requires constant hand fingering, like small parts assembly, which is a job they love to use for unskilled people that need sedentary work. If your fingers cannot do constant stuff. I will say, I often see them then say, okay, she's limited to frequent. She can't do constant, but she can do frequent. Frequent is 6 out of 8, up to 6 out of 8 hours, guys. I find that to be a wimpy way to still deny a person oftentimes, because many of the jobs don't need constant, they only need frequent. Just something that I drew of my conclusions with disgust. Because I think when someone has arthritis in their fingers, frequent is way too much for probably any of them. The people that work and have that kind of arthritis in their fingers and do finger work, they're the type of people that gruel through and probably have noddled everything and don't complain, but they are in great pain. They're just the kind of person that sucks it up. And yeah, that kind of hurts it for everybody else, but it hurts it for themselves too, because that really should be something where the person shouldn't be expected to be able to do that. Just because, I mean, I always look at it like, if your child is under a fallen car, you know, they say mothers would have the power to push the car off. We all have the power to do stuff when lives depend on it, like feeding our family, not losing our mortgage. What people will suffer through, right? Doesn't mean it's not very significant pain. They just do it. Most of them will become grumpier people. Some will also be considered grumpy, depressed, you know, old men, women, you know, but they'll do it. And then they, of course, they don't have a case. And I'm not saying we can change that in any way, but I will say that I do see them often putting those people into a frequent category instead of instead of putting them into an occasional fingering capacity, which would then render them disabled. So, and again, it comes back to some discretionary elements that I don't know that there's a way to avoid. I just don't know that there's a way to avoid. There has to be discretion, of course. You don't want AI pumping out your answer. Diana says, no, I spoke with them in October and they had someone call me to apply. Okay, same idea. You did it by phone. Diana, you last worked in March 2020. You probably realize that you're no longer insured for Social Security disability, right? It never lasts more than 5 calendar years after you stop. So if you got your credits in 2020, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25. Oh, I take that back. You've got about 2 weeks left, potentially. On a max side, you have 2 weeks left of your DLI, date less insured, or you don't. If you didn't earn the full 4 credits by the time March hit in 2020, that sounds like you left with COVID, with the COVID debacle, I should say, then you might not be insured. So just make sure that your alleged onset date is way back when you're insured, or else you can't prevail on SSD. You might be able to prevail on SSI if you are poor enough. Diana goes on to say, they told me they would get my medical information from my doctors. That's true. Yep, that's one of their tasks, to the extent they can. If the doctor doesn't send it or things get lost in the mail, then you're out of luck. I always say stay on top of it, Diana, when you get an adjudicator, which you will know because you'll get a request for a function report, work history report potentially. What else do you get? They might ask you, they might leave you a message. They might ask you for who, you know, any new updated doctor visits. You want to make phone calls to that person. Update them with everything. See that they got your medical records, because if not, you're going to go order your records from your doctor. If you had a lawyer, they'd be doing it. They recorded everything because they sent me a written copy. Wow. So how long was the conversation? I'm just curious. How long was the conversation and how long does a transcript of that? So they actually give a transcript, like a recorded transcript? Or do they just paraphrase it so they say it like they like it? Like, she told me this, she told me that, like a hearsay thing. I'm just curious if it's transcribed or not. That's pretty cool. Focused ladies in the house. Hi, Focused. Social Security in my town makes appointments, denies that they exist, then send a message to a phone saying that the person missed the appointment. How can this be dealt with? Yeah, frustrating. I would be faxing them. The second they miss the appointment, I would be faxing. You're talking about your field office, right? Focused. I would be faxing them a letter and keep the fax confirmation saying, I was there for my appointment waiting by the phone. You never called me like you said you were going to. That's all you can do. All you can do. That's been forever. I'm looking out the window and I see some deer in the snow. We have tons of deer around here. It's a safe zone for deer. Can't have flowers growing, but you can have deer. Focus Lady continues to say, after sending certified track letters and faxes, Social Security denied communications. Well, they might deny it, but is it something that you need to appeal? And I'm not sure so what is the loss to you of the missed appointment? Is it because you were trying to apply? Go online and do it. Don't even bother with the phone. I would just go right online and apply. Oh, yeah, the Amazon birdie. She is. She's very sweet. Can you guys see her? She's cleaning her foot. She is adorable. Focus was saying that. Yeah, and sending certified track letters. I have people do that for one piece of mail. Focus. And that's their printout of their the printout of their application that we do online that they have to then sign to confirm that they're letting me do it online, and they confirm that that was a decision. But that costs money. So that's usually the only one they have to do. And this is a pain in the butt, but it seems very dark in here, doesn't it? I don't know.
Hello.
Hello. 16 pages. Huh. How long was the conversation, Diana? Just curious. If you recall, was it like a half hour or more or less? Love Lulu says, question on fax numbers. I have providers at 3 office locations with fax numbers for each office. There is one main fax number direct to records department for all 3 affiliated offices. Sounds like that one might work. I'll go ahead and use the one if that's easier. Either way. It's all obviously the same group. They're just growing and have more offices. Definitely need the different addresses because it has to be mailed. And believe me, we hear it from providers or records holders of the providers that say, you have to put the exact address in the office you want the records from. For God's sake. Inheritance says, you can have flowers in 8-foot tall pots. They are hungry. I forget we were talking about that, brought that up. Were we talking about something like that? Inheritance. Okay. Any questions, guys? We're pretty late here. I know that season is upon us, right? Anybody doing anything fun for Christmas? I might see my father-in-law. That would be nice. I haven't seen him. Oh, well, I did see him at a memorial service a few years ago. He lives far away. He doesn't come up much, and we all work. And he's not really too proactive about getting up here, so. Almost an hour and a half. All right, Diana. She says her phone conversation when they took her application was an hour and a half. Does that seem like 16 pages? Was it single spaced or double spaced? I don't know. It seems like it would be longer if it was an hour and a half. Doesn't it? I could be wrong. I don't know. I'm trying to think back to the days of depositions back in state practice. But those were double spaced with a bit of margin. The way that court reporters were required to produce them. Every line had a number. And there would be like 50 pages, maybe 50 doubles, front and back. I hardly remember. Those are the days that I wasn't really enjoying myself. Inheritance says, thank you, Inheritance. You said deer eat your flowers. Yes, they do, except for usually, unless it's like a really starving season, every 10 years or so, they will eat daffodils. But otherwise, the daffodils are pretty safe. I think what else is safe. That might be the only one I can think of. So I always buy a bag of bulbs and throw them in the ground and hope they'd come up. It's very unorganized. But the deer will eat pretty much everything, and we are flooded with them. And yes, you're right. Probably an 8-foot tall one might do the job. Now, I do know they get on their hind legs, and they will eat stuff off of our deck, which is, say, 2 feet up, and then you have your 4-foot railing, and then you have your pots on there. They will eat that. They will. And if they can come on the front porch deck, they will, of course. Focus says, on SSDI was stated that I never responded to the office. Small rural town was sent usually the small towns are the best, was sent a letter saying they would cut benefits off. So you were on benefits. They had to speak with you about something, I don't know what. And they say you didn't make the appointment. Was sent a letter saying, you know what? If they cut your benefits, you need to look at every letter they send you. If they're going to go down that road, you have to look, because if they do, you're supposed to be able to appeal. So you want to meet the deadline for appeal and meet it strongly, to be sure. Keep your documentation of that. But yeah, I could see it's inexplicable, but I've seen that before. Keep sending your letters with fax and occasional certified. I mean, certified's good too. It just takes longer and stuff. But very, very frustrating. I can commiserate with you. Have you thought about going down there in person when they let you in? Inherited says, I had ALJ hearing. They found me not disabled after fighting a stroke back on June. You're under 50, aren't you, Inheritance? My lawyer not submit my paperwork. Daffodils, thank you. Well, your lawyer, it sounds like he did something wrong if you didn't submit your paperwork. And yeah, it's the daffodils are the only thing I can reliably use. Dimple's in the house. Sorry, I'm late. Better late than never is what I always say. Right, Dimple? Inheritance says, I sent certified mail from 2018. We had hearing of DLI. Oh, all right. Inheritance, you're 60 plus? Is that why you're ornery like me? Well, I'm not 60 plus yet, but I'm very close. Huh. 60 plus. I would have pegged you for younger. You're such a whippersnapper. Don't you think? With intention, I'm sure. All right. Earth One. Good to see you, Earth One. Or Earth, what did we say that was? Earth One. Truly enjoy all your insight and updates. Thank you very much. Thank you for being here. I appreciate it. Dolphin says, my 2 surgeons are sending me to UCLA to have another surgery. My first appointment is 1/7/26. Maybe DDS is waiting to make decision. This will be my 7th surgery. Maybe. Have you made sure to tell? You have an attorney, right? Artie, I forget. Make sure they know about your surgery date. Now, your first appointment is 1/7, but your surgery is when? You would want to let them know that for sure. And remember, guys, you can now upload any medical information or evidence you want, including, hey, I have surgery coming up, a little letter to that effect, through your SSA account. You don't have to rely. And granted, my clients, tell them, do not do that. You go through me. I need to know what's going in there, and I need to look at it first. But for everybody else that's per se, you got to send your evidence in, and you have to keep them apprised so they know. If you're going to have something big happen on January 7th, then we're at, what is the date? December 17th. You're going to want to let them know. So if they're about to deny you, they might say, oh, she's having a surgery. Didn't know about that. Wow, that really changes the whole situation. Yeah, I know. So, yeah, you guys got to use that. And if you have a lawyer, talk to your lawyer first. If he says, yeah, go to town, blah, 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 I don't really want to be involved, fine. But I would think most would tend to be like, no, send it here. We send it up. Because you need it in your file. I mean, your lawyer can't really prepare for hearing or brief without. Granted, it'll be in the file later when they exhibit it for hearing, but I don't know. I think the smarter side of practice is preparing that brief along as we go. It's one of the little behind the scenes things that's going on all throughout the case. Inheritance says, I called your office. Yes, totally. Yeah, well, the office is going to tell you to go to joydisability.com and fill out the eval form if you want representation to be considered inheritance. And really, it's going to be a weird call because you're trying to get some overturning of something that's been decided at ALJ about your DLI. Unless you have a good argument as to why your DLI is, they factually, with proof, disregarded something. That's like a legal definition thing that we can't change. We can only present evidence to the contrary. But you went to ALJ hearing and he found that you were incorrect. So you can appeal to appeals counsel, of course. And that's what you're going to want to do. But anyway, for us to look at it, it's got to go through that eval form. Even if you leave a message, you're just going to get a text back saying, go here. And then it gets kind of an oversee. And then it may or may not get to me. It probably will, because I'm going to tell them. I hope when you do it, mention your name, your screen name in the actual eval form, wherever you can type it. And in some of the narrative sections, and I'll take a look. But we do the medical battles. We're not really doing the law shouldn't be this way. We're not doing that kind of stuff. We're not fighting the law. We're not lobbyists, anything of that sort. Okay. And Heritage says he eats well. That's why he's so spunky. All right. Okay. I know you're putting you're putting up your criticism of the representative. I'm not gonna mention it out loud. People can see it. That's enough for me. I just don't like to slam others when I don't really know the situation, just as I wouldn't want them to do to me, you know. Dimple says Tasha is so precious. I know, she's a little chatty today. Yeah. Yeah. Are you hungry? Cracker? Can you say cracker? What is this? Don't fall off the perch. Can you say it? Show them that you can say cracker. She only talks when she wants to. It's very annoying. All right. But she is precious. ASL hearing didn't go well. So I think you meant ALJ hearing, Benny. This is Benny. Hi, Benny. Didn't go well. Was denied. I'm sorry. I'm sorry to hear that. You have to decide. Benny wants to know if he's going to have to testify again. Not unless you get another hearing. And the only way to do that, Benny, is to, on this particular application that you have, appeal to the appeals council and get it remanded. Or if it gets denied at appeals council, appeal to the federal district court and get them to remand it. Or if you can, depending on where all your credits lie and or your SSI situation, you can refile anew, but you have to figure that out. You can't appeal to the appeals council and file anew for the same disability until the appeals council makes a decision. All right. And then if you have to testify again, it's because you had to go all the way to hearing again. So can't answer you specifically on that, Benny, but that's basically the gist of that. Focus says, I'm hearing and visually impaired, and the office said I need a representative payee despite my having a part-time job. Really? Vocational rehab documented that. Correct. Only appointments allowed. Oh, and now Social Security won't make one. So what did they say? You called them and spoke to them and said, we're not making appointments? That's pretty weird. Maybe contact your congressperson if they are not making appointments for you when you need to speak to somebody about something. That might be it. I mean, assuming you've done enough, and it sounds like you have, it might be the time to, to possibly ask your congressperson to say, hey, they won't give me an appointment. They're threatening to cut off my benefits. I've sent them and attach your letters where you gave them what they wanted to know and the fax confirms and the certified mail confirm. Send that all together in a nice, concise thing to your congressperson, your senator, or whoever's up for election next is what I like to say. Because they usually tend to be, well, I'm just supposing that they'll be more attentive. I don't know that they actually are. And sometimes they can get a nudge. 10-4, good buddy. I hear you, Inheritance. James Cavell. Did I get that right? You know how I always ask you every week? Good to see you again, James. James says, howdy from Texas. You know, I used to want to move to Texas. It's not that I wouldn't want to now. I just am stuck in Pennsylvania. Probably till I die. Okay. We spoke recently. You were right. Judge's RFC was light at 52. Bingo. Denied. DLI is December 2025. Going to AC. Oh, your DLI. This judge gave all the expected reasons to refute good evidence. Can you get your DLI moved forward, James? There's something you could do to keep credits coming? Hard time, from home, house sitting, dog sitting, a self-employed gigger thing. If you can't get a part-time genteel, under SGA always for all of them, but enough to get all 4 credits. Can you do that? Because then you can file again. As of now, you can file again, but the only window that James has to prove his case is from the date of the judge's very recent decision to 2 weeks from now. So what has he got? 2 months of maybe of you're interrupting. 2 weeks of, or 2 months, whatever it is, that small period of time, the evidence that of all the doctor appointments he went into in that time about his conditions, that's the only evidence that can really be considered to see if it changes the optics. You almost have to appeals counsel it, right? I'm sorry. That stinks. But yeah, we see that all the time. Last, I don't know, 3 or 4 years. Smack a light on them, not a sedentary, so they can't win. But if you can do part-time work and get those credits, you will again be insured and you can refile. I talk about this to people all the time. My people know it. Because I even talk to my people about it when they still have DLI, but it's going to be running out, and their case, particularly if they're under 50, has that, and like as you're pointing out, 50 to 54 difficulty. I was just reading it's an email list with colleagues from NADER, National Association of Disability Representatives, one of the 2 major organizations I've been in for quite some time. And they were talking about having a bunch of cases where the 50 to 54s were granted, but only because they'd already turned 55. So they weren't granted when they applied at, say, 53, 54. And some of these people are obviously newer practitioners and they don't maybe follow it as much. So I said, yeah, this is definitely happening, but make no mistake, it's been happening since like 22. Because once it happened to me for the first time, my guy won, but there were no back benefits because of that strategy that the SSA implemented a few years back. And I started paying attention very strongly ever since then. So that's how I know how far it's gone back. People maybe with some smaller caseloads or a different setup might not see that. RD says, I do have an attorney and happy with them. Awesome. I do not have a surgery date. Okay, so you're just in that pre-surgical, they saying you should get surgery and now you're all discussing it and going to get all that pre-surgical stuff and then it's going to be scheduled. Is that how it is going to be? DDS is notified about UCLA and the referral for surgery, just starting the process with UCLA. I should get the surgery date soon. Very good. Yeah, just make sure. I'm sure your attorneys are going to do a fine job getting that up there. I'm really glad you're happy with them. It seems like when we're here, a lot of people are not, which is probably why they're here. Oh, all right. James is correcting. His DLI is not in 2 weeks. It was last year. I have some of those cases. They're definitely not your regular case. They're definitely, I wouldn't say they're the 1%ers, but they're definitely, as an overall collective, in a lower, they're just, I mean, some people won't even take remote DLIs. Problem with remote DLI cases, and this is when the DLI, the date last insured of you, has run out, you're no longer insured for SSD, is that any advice I want to give you about, what are you squealing for? I don't have a lot of these kind of crackers up, and I know these are your favorite. What was I saying? They can't take my advice of, oh, you have bad knees, but you haven't treated for them? Get in there now. Start B&Ming about it. Get your doctor to send you for MRIs, possible PT, all the stuff that builds evidence. I'm not saying it's going to cure you. People say, why should I do that if it's not going to cure? Because I'm not there to cure you. I'm there to win your case. So I'm going to tell you things to win your case. or to increase your chances of winning your case. As I always say, a 100% chance to win your case does not exist. Does not exist. So the goal is to make whatever you're at when you start, some nebulous percentage chance of winning, which is often like in the single digits when we get them, and to build that case so the closer you can get to that 100% mark. You're never going to hit the 100% because that means that there's no chance of you losing. There's always a chance. There's too many wild cards. But, closing as many gaps, filling all those gaps in of evidence as much as you can is to me the goal. And that's what we do. I'm quite the nag. Nag hag, right? All my people know it. James says, I attempted to work in October 2020. It went not so well. Well, think about the different kinds of work you might be able to do. You got to be creative. You got to really think outside the box for sure. Some people do gigger stuff like DoorDash and all that. I'm not saying it's fun. I'm not saying, and we've all done gigger work in the past, right? Well, gigger work is probably a newer animal, except for like handymen and stuff like that. Now there's actual companies that provide gigger work, the DoorDashes, the Instacarts, the Lyft and the Ubers. So if that's possible. Sometimes people get creative. I have people who house sit. And there are people that are younger that I'm like, there's a big chance we'll lose this round. Just because of the way the rules work for, say, a 40-year-old. So I really think you should do something that has no interference to speak of with your disabilities. House sitting, pet sitting. Like you can't, obviously, most people can't do big, rambunctious dogs like my own. It could be checking on someone's house and watering their plants when they're gone for the summer. There's all sorts of things to do. You just got to really think hard about it. I'm trying to think of things that people can do with flexible hours. There's things online with flexible hours, but that requires decent use of a computer usually. Sometimes it requires verbal customer service. That can be troublesome. Other times it can be online customer service. So just gotta really look. I hate to see you get screwed out of it, James. Because as you know, with a light RFC, and if you can't do your prior work according to that ALJ, in 2.5 years, you'd have a totally different story, even if they don't change. Even with the exact same facts, you now win. But you're not going to be able to because you won't be insured. And I just want to see you get insured so that if worse comes to worse and you've got to deal with that 2.5 year wait, you have something to show for it. I know. It's tough. All right. Inheritance says, how long does appeals counsel usually take? There is no usual. I've seen 2 months. I've seen 2 years. I think the most I ever went was like 1.5 years waiting. I'd say they're mostly longer than 2 months and mostly less than 18 months. Probably usually within a year. It's not a short time. Diana says, what are medical problems Social Security believe will last at least 12 months, but not your lifetime? Oh, well, it could be a surgical recovery, a transplant. They usually have a lot of those. I want to say they're listing a transplant, say a kidney or a heart or something, because of the rejection factors and other things. Those tend to have a automatic win, but with a CDR, a review that has to take place when the person should be back up on their feet and can do, say, a sedentary job, right? I mean, when we have a kidney transplant, we're not useless for the rest of our lives. So those kind of things. Sometimes a hip, like a young person who has a knee surgery, well, that probably wouldn't even meet the 12 months. So I take that back. Hello. Hi. And a lot of times it depends on how technology is evolving, Diana, because part of the reason for CDRs is because an untreatable or unimprovable type of condition 20 years ago, now they have therapies that they improve. So one that would have kept you from being able to do a light job, and now one can do a light job. Oh, it looks like he wants to go. That's what she does when she's threatening to fly, but she can't, and then she flops on the floor like a floppy tuna. And you feel like she, I'm going to give you a, yeah, I'm going to give you a treat, but don't you spit it out. Yeah. Yeah. She gets a little demanding. I can't believe she didn't go, hey! That's what she'll do if you're across the room and eating. Like my husband and I will be having drinks or nibbling on something, and she's on her perch on top of her condo, but not over by us. Or even if this perch is over in the kitchen where we're doing it, and we're ignoring her and we're chit-chatting, she'll be like, hey! And she says it just like that. It's hysterical. It's like, hey, you're not paying me any attention. So, James, the judge doesn't have to mention anything. It's for you to tell your story, not for him to have to tell you what to say. Your medications and their side effects are in your file, if there are any, if you put them in there. So he has all that. So he doesn't have to speak about it. He's not there to regurgitate. Sorry, did I just say regurgitate your contents of your 1,000-page file? That's not what the hearing is for. It's for hearing you. It's not for you sitting in a lecture and having someone read to you. You know what I mean? And I'm making that in kind of a simplified way, but the hearing is about you getting out things that help illustrate to a judge how those impairments and limitations play out in real life. The phone just never stops. All right. Oh, Michael's saying that he or she wants on camera, meaning Tasha, except she's showing you her butt right now. Woohoo! And you know what? Her name is Tasha, but I don't know if she's really a girl. They all kind of look the same, you know what I'm saying? And it would be curious, but I don't really care because either way, we're not going to change her name on her. She's had it for 31 years when we got her, so, right? Sometimes it's called Tash. Hey, Tash. Tosh. Justin Zane says 53. DLI expires 2031. That means you just stopped working, right, Justin? This year in 2025, if Justin just stopped working, and he had earned enough credits already in 2025 when he stopped, so that 2025 is complete. 26, 27, 28, 29, 30. How'd you get the end of 31? Wait, 26, 27, 28, 29. Should be the end of 30. Interesting. How'd you get to 31? Yes, definitely better grid odds in 2027, Justin. But that doesn't mean it doesn't happen when you're 53 either. So that's what you have to push for, of course. Oh, Justin made a correction. 2029. 2029. I would have thought you stopped in 2025. If you did, I would have thought 25 is covered. 26, 27, 28, 29, 30. End of 30. We'll find out. No worries. 29 is still pretty good. RFD, what do you do when you have tests done and the doctors say everything looks fine, and then you see the report on my heart and it says some osteoarthritis? This is RFT, by the way. Hi, RFT. Let's see. I'm sorry. The report on my heart and it says some your heart says osteoarthritis. Oh, like it can see sometimes when they take an MRI of one thing, it shows damages of some of the things around. How much is some? You're asking me? I'm not a medical doctor. Maybe you should start going for osteoarthritis workup of all the various joints and such. Oh, an x-ray? Yeah, x-rays just tell some of those hard things. Doesn't speak to, have you been complaining about symptoms that would come from the osteoarthritis of where you found it's located? Is it located in other places? I always say, look at that body chart and compare each and every finger, hand, wrist, all the way up and down the body, head, neck, toes, butts, back, legs, knees, hips, calves. Are any of those body parts today less fast, strong, durational, able to do repetition, carry the same weights without pain-free, or without the pain? Are they as pain-free now and able to do repetition now and comfortable now as they were when you were 20? If not, something's deteriorated. It doesn't, a lot of times people make the mistake of thinking, but I never heard it. It's just old age. Doesn't count. It counts. Get it worked up. Become the squeaky wheel you haven't been your whole life, that you are always working and pushing through, particularly in the later years. Don't be a hypochondriac. Just be accurate. Because people tend to not deny if they're, play it down when they're asked. And otherwise, they don't even mention it. So if somebody doesn't ask, they don't mention it. They don't go to the doctor for it. They don't do anything. We just push through because we figure getting older, there's not much that can be done. And that's true. Not much that can be done with that. We can't change the fact that we're aging. However, we can use it to our benefit in a case. So it's legal evidence. And that's why I say work it up, work it up, work it up. Right? Treat for all those parts. Diana asks, what is a CDR? A CDR, it stands for Continuing Disability Review. And everyone who gets on SSI or SSD gets them, or is in line to get them. And generally, depending on your medical condition that they found you disabled under, is whether they can expect you to improve. If so, when would be a good time to check? 1 year, 3 years, 5 to 7 years. 5 to 7 years tends to be medical improvement not expected. And then they will either do a full-blown CDR, a short-form CDR. Sometimes they actually bypass it and decide, with all the resources, that's not the person we should be CDRing. It should be this other person who has more improvable conditions, or they're younger and their likelihood of them being the ones to improve with that condition are more than that older person, because we have degeneration that kind of goes against sometimes the improvement that a young person might have. So all that comes into play. James says, thanks for your input as always. By the way, your bird is beautiful. Yeah, she is. Oh, let me put her up again. Say hello. Can you see yourself? If I put on birds for her, she can see them. I don't know that she's that interested in them. Hey, Tiger Bites in the house. I haven't seen you in a million. I think my transferable skills got me denied initially, as was a manager in food and beverage. I am 61. You were denied? So I tried to explain in recon how new diagnoses and treatments with emphasis on physical. Tiger Bite. You tried to explain, or did your lawyer? I hope you have a lawyer. If not, I expect to go to the website. You know, I'm sorry you were denied. Sometimes people think, I'm 61, of course I'm going to be awarded. It's not true. It's not true. Mental and physical impairments, Tiger Bite says, with emphasis on movements and lifting and standing most of the day. It has to do with your evidence, guaranteed. Anyway, if you want me to look at it, and that's only if you don't have an attorney or a rep, go to the website, joydisability.com. And as soon as you get to that page, in the upper left is the link for the free disability eval. Send it in. Say your username here, Tiger, and they'll just shoot it right over to you. I'll get it eventually, but that'll just speed it up. And then, again, that's only if you don't have representation. If you do, I'm sure they're handling everything, and it's going to be fine. Justin Zane says, December 31st, 2029, official DLI for this applicant. Thank you, Stephanie and Tasha. You're welcome. All right, so yeah, that means that you didn't have all credits in the preceding 5 years of your, or 10 years, 5 to 10 years of your alleged onset date. So you had some missed time in there, right? where in a particular calendar year you did not earn all 4 credits. I did. You did what? Dimple says, I'm guilty of trying to downplay a lot of my problems. I know you are. Downplay a lot of my problems and limitations. I usually just try to figure out a workaround. I know. We all do. I would say self-employed people, since I've been one for like 30 years, we are probably top at that because there is no one to kvetch to. You know what I mean? Like, it's not like we can get FMLA or, gee, I'll get some paid time off. That doesn't happen for us. So we really just keep plugging because that's the only way to keep the bills paid and the work done, right? But W-2 people say it's the worker mentality. For those that are of a generation that have that mentality, and I will say I do think it's kind of generational, guys. I don't know that it exists anymore with, sorry for the younger people. My generation somehow raised a younger generation that maybe doesn't have it to the same extent as a collective as us older coots do. And that's a shame because it's really, I think it's hurt the younger generation to not have that. But on the same token, you have to complain now, for sure, for legal purposes, for legal evidence purposes. Tiger Ray says, wow, you remembered me. LOL, it's been a while. It has been a while, but you have a very fetching screen name. So don't lose it. It's good. I hope you're doing okay. Don't be a stranger. Justin Zane says, Tasha has prettier feathers, I think, than when she arrived to your farm. I wish I had a farm. Are you kidding me, Justin Zane? I haven't lived in a development. Hello. Oh, did you guys hear that? Hello. Say it again. Hello. I'm sure they heard you, except I was babbling. Maybe they didn't. Can you do it again? Come on, Tosh. Don't play hard to get. She plays hard to get. Dogs, be quiet. You know, that's nice of you to say. Her other owner did take great care of her. So the only thing she couldn't do was get her nails clipped towards the end, and they got really long and curly when we got her. We got those. Yeah, you're laughing at that. You agree? Agree or disagree? And that was just because she was an old lady, and I think transporting it was hard, you know. So I think she did, you know, she was just being conscientious, and that's when she's like, I have to get her a new home, and that's when we got her. But she was well fed and healthy and everything. So I don't know if she looks prettier now. Maybe it's just because she's being a little cutesy today, and you could see more of her. Sometimes she's always sleeping. Right now she's primping and all that stuff. RFT says, my point was doctor said nothing, but there my chart said osteoarthritis. Well, that means that your doctor, it is in your chart. So what is the doctor going to say about it? He's not treating you for it, right? I mean, do you know what I'm saying? Is it your primary care? Like I'm saying this only because the medical profession is not what I perceive they were 50 years ago. If they don't have to say something, they don't. What are you doing? You gonna talk? Hello. Oh, thank you. Hello. So I feel you have to be kind of an advocate for yourself, and then tell your primary care. I understand I have osteoarthritis. That explains my multiple joint pains. I want to get this worked up. I really want to see how bad it is. I want MRIs. I want, you know, if MRIs are the way to do it. And I want to see a specialist for osteoarthritis because, you know, you have one body. I mean, aside from the case, right? We have one body, and we want to keep it working for us, right? So we're ambulatory and we can do things and we're not chair bound, all that stuff. So I don't see why, you know, yes, it would be nice if any doctor that saw it when reviewing your records would be like, oh, yeah, but because, and I'll add that because how do they know you actually review your records? Because, you know, up until recently, people didn't have access to their progress notes. And recently before that, they didn't even have access to test results. They had to rely on doctors letting them know, which half the time they didn't. So, you Yeah, you're right. They don't tell you. They don't tell you, and you have to be proactive. And it's a little concerning because a lot of people don't even have it in them to be proactive. Some of our older folks are very disabled. So you really do need to be RFT, I would say, and I would pursue that osteoarthritis for sure. Add it to your claim if it's not something that you already had in there. But I will say, if you already had aches and pains, weren't you already getting treated for them? Weren't you following them to trying to find out what they were? Or do you have osteoarthritis that is asymptomatic, in which case it's not going to help you with your claim? It doesn't limit you. So you have to figure it out. You have to, that's where the body chart, I know I sound like a nerd and a repetitive one at that, like a broken record, but the body chart is such a great way to make you remember you have these parts to think about. I mean, I don't think about my hands, right? I use them all day long. I'm typing or dictating or whatever I'm doing, and they don't feel bad. However, there are other times of the day where I'm like even after I've worked, I'll be like making a fist, and I'm like rotating my wrist because they're stiff and achy and all that. And I'm not disabled and saying my wrists are, but if I was, I would be, maybe not yet, but probably in a few years, being like, all right, I have to figure out, how bad is that going to get? I'm constantly always pushing my fingers back because I feel like they need to be stretched. I don't know what that is. Maybe because they're always like this, but just different things. But the body chart makes you reminded to check those different body parts instead of the one that hurts you the most, which is like could be the back. That's like such a major claim in SSD cases, the back. But all those other things are those crumbs that help fill in those gaps to help get you closer to 100%. So whatever your initial problem is, RFT, that is the big bane of your existence that kept you away from your most recent job. That's your most recent job. These other little things are going to add to other jobs. So pursue that, okay? If you want. Dimple says, I'm probably the only Dimple you know. You are the only Dimple I know in terms of names, Dimple. And in fact, when I first met you, I thought it was a nickname. Like parents called you that or spouse calls you that. So you used it as a screen name. That's what I thought. It's pretty unusual, for sure. It's cute. And it fits your personality very perfectly. Dolphin says, a lot of info is coming out about how women have suffered from menopause impairments. The Gen X and baby boomers, all right, so I'm Gen X, all right, and baby boomers were told not take HRT. Are you turning into if DSS will deny the impairments? Menopause itself is not an impairment. So if you have an impairment from it or you relate it to it, then just go pursue that impairment. There are things called like they have names for things. And I'm trying to think of one. I mean, you become psychotic when you go through menopause. I say somebody, not I actually didn't even barely know I went through it except to save me a couple bucks a month. But if you it could be, let's say, I know you got to think of a name, but whatever impairment you're talking of, it has to be an actual diagnosis. You could have symptoms, and then you could probably prove that menopause is a condition. It's not a disease, right? But it's a state of being. If you have severe, let's say you have massive chronic depression, well, then you have massive chronic depression. It almost doesn't matter what's causing it. It's the fact that you have it, and you have to get it diagnosed. And then the treatment, and then the evidence of how bad, severe the limitations are. So you have to get a little bit more specific. You can't just say, I'm in menopause, I'm female, therefore I should get disability. You know what I mean? It's got to be really hard hitting. And the therapies, because they cause supposedly increase the chances of cancers and perhaps some mental problems by screwing around with the hormone replacement and all that. I don't know. It's very different for every woman. And I think a lot of women don't have symptoms that even bother them. Certainly not more than when they weren't in menopause. So they won't take them. And then ones that have more severe symptoms that are really interfering with their life are going to be more tempted to get the treatment. It's like anything else. If it's not bad enough to treat because it's just like a nuisance, then they don't. You know, it's that whole risk and reward thing. Dimple says, with a name like Dimple, you better have a sense of humor. Yes, I agree. Can you imagine if you were a Grubby Pants? Tasha's laughing. That she does that when she hears you laugh, then she'll go. I don't know if you can hear. RFT says it was an orthopedic doctor, so yes, they should have told me. Well, okay, so to tell you, they have to have another appointment. So you have to ask for another appointment. Say, I want to go over any diagnoses. Like, I don't know that they're allowed to just offer up because insurance is so stickler. I'm not sure that they're allowed to just offer up. Let's have an appointment, another appointment next week so we can get another $400 from the insurance company so I can tell you what's on your records. I get the whole system's broken. I do. I think it's very broken in so many ways. I can't even, between what I know from practice and what I saw recently with what my friend went through and I went through with her to try to get her the proper care, to get her a proper diagnosis to something extremely, extremely serious. It was broken. And I was like a tyrant for the last 3 months, up until recently, a couple weeks ago, telling people in the middle of depression, I better see this go through because if not, I'm taking names and numbers. Like I'm reporting, like it will be huge. Like to me, it will be huge because I'm not going to shut up about it. We finally did get some results. Not really the result I wanted, but the medical procedures to move forward to get a correct diagnosis and get the proper thing after that did work. It's just that the diagnosis I'm very unhappy with, but I kind of suspected. Okay. But I get it. It's broken. You have to be your advocate. If you're going to sit there, and I'm not saying you're doing this, but a lot of people go, well, he is going to have to call me because I shouldn't have to call him. Okay, but it's your life sliding down the tubes, not his. So sometimes when what's the word? When the industry level is down here and we think it should be up here and it's not, and we're over here or over here saying, well, I'm not doing anything until they come up and do this. You know, this one comes up to here and does what it should be doing. I'm gonna stay over here. Well, guess what? You can sit there and be in pain for the next 50 years. You know what I mean? We have to advocate for ourselves. It is just the way it is. You know, it's. Hello. Yeah, she's getting unshot with you guys. Look at that. That's pretty cool. You just have to be more. You have to be more. Don't expect more from others than they are going to give you. Read the writing on the wall. And when you know they're not going to do it, you sitting there saying they should be doing this isn't going to make it happen. You know what I mean? And I just say this from experience and frustration myself. So you have to be that squeaky wheel and you have to go get it done yourself and look at your own records, unfortunately. And that whole fact is going to be, like I said, detrimental to people who don't have it in them to do that, are unable to. They might be mentally unable to. They might be physically unable to. And hopefully they have we always say a liaison, but a trusted friend or family member who will always be on top of it for them because they're not able to do that very adult act reliably themselves anymore. But you can, and I know you can, so you just got to do it. They're not going to, everyone is on they do the basic they need to do to pull him a paycheck. And I shouldn't say everybody, there are some really good doctors out there. But that is the way it is. Unfortunately, it's just a reality. Tiger Bite asks, is it good to check in with adjudicator handling my claim every week? Probably don't need to do it every week. It's really going to depend what's going on. If you are going to 3 doctors a week, I would probably let them know every 2 weeks. If you are not doing squat, and I wouldn't. There's nothing more for them to get. But that's after you've already established what they have and what they don't have. maybe monthly. If something big happens, you need to let them know immediately, though, because you don't want the risk of your case getting closed to the decision and they didn't have that, and the decision didn't go in your favor. So, but you don't just call and check in to say, hey, just want to check in. How you doing? How's your day? You know, you want it to be for a reason. You're all Spitfire. Dolphin says, impairment symptoms, overactive bladder, pelvic prolapse, vaginal atrophy, depression, osteoporosis, hot flashes. Hello. Hello. That's water. Hold on, I'll get you a different kind of cracker, okay? Yeah, I forget. How old are you, Dolphin? Did you say that above? Everyone's giving their ages on them. Because they're probably going to say they probably don't have evidence to say you can't do sedentary. They might even say you could do light. That would be like stand-up cashier work. You know, it's kind of gentle. You know, those are those kind of conditions that are very interrupted to the person, but not necessarily to exertional tasks and goings on. And they look at other things. Well, does she shop for herself? Does she go to the grocery store for 2 hours? Does she take trips out of state? What are her hobbies? I mean, that's what a function report also kind of does or does not confirm things, you know? So. All right. Do we have any more, guys? We are at an hour and a half. Anybody have any questions? Anything else they want to discuss? Looks like we're pretty cool, calm, and collected here. I will probably get off then, guys, and get about some other work. For some of the very great clients I see in here, in fact, was it 2 or 3 that? Well, no, 2 of them. It's a daily thing on their cases because they're heading to hearing, and that's when everything kind of pulls together. 56. All right. So Dolphin, remember, I think we've gone over this, right? And I know you repeated yourself to me, and I apologize. To grid, you have to prove you can't do medium level work. I find it hard to believe. Well, you have the osteoporosis. How do you work that up? Also, this is where that body chart Dolphin comes in. Are you like you can? It's very rare for a 56-year-old, and you'd be like my little sister. But at 56, it would be like unusual to not have aches and pains in joints. It just would be. So that would be the back, the elbows, the hands, the wrists, the ankles, the knees, the hips. Again, not as good as when you were 20. Then those should be worked up because you just have to prove that you have to prove the 3 things: that you are not able to do medium level work. You could do light or you could do sedentary at best for the sake of argument. Those are fine. And but you can't do medium, which is on your feet most of the day and lifting up to 50 pounds. That's the important part. So prove you can't do that. And then if your prior job doesn't prove you either can't transfer any existing transferable skills from your prior job, maybe because of the poor concentration from the depression, the distractibility, maybe irritability, but unable to concentrate, maybe remember things as much, so you can't really transfer those skills and make that adjustment to other work. That's the whole thing about the grids, right? Adjustment to other work. And if there are transferable skills from your job, they would not transfer to a light or sedentary job. So much depends about what that other job was. That's where the work history report that you presented can make or break your claim. If you don't understand it in the right way and pull out all the details that will address the things that need to be addressed that you might not think about. Work history report is, for the over 50s, I'd say it's more important than the function report. And that's saying a lot. So talk to your lawyer about, well, and think about it. You know, what are you not treating for that would show more than what we have here? Osteoporosis. I always like to think if it's severe enough, it should eliminate heavy lifting. And I think 35 pounds is heavy, and that's medium. So I would like to think that that would kind of put you down, help put you down to light or less. But then we still have to know what that prior job was. Was that prior job light or less? And then if it was light or less, and it would normally transfer, then you got to really hone up on that, all the medical treatment records of today and recent and tomorrow for the depression and how it affects you in terms of cognition, really remembering, applying things, staying on track, you know, not getting off task, being able to follow written directions and verbal directions and not needing them repeated 20 million times and all that good stuff. God, the lighting in here changed, didn't it? I felt so rosy before. And I'm like, how do you get rid of that rosiness? Because I'm a little rosy, but more pale, I guess. All right. RFT says they did the x-ray before I saw the doctor, and she looked at it before seeing me. A lot of specialists do that. But you were going to an orthopedist for a reason, right? So I guess you didn't see the x-ray till after the appointment, or would you have asked about it? Like, hey, I heard the x-ray says I have osteoporosis, you know? Is it so mild that it's at the level that doesn't need treatment? I don't even know. Like, things to find out about. And again, you have to be proactive. You just have to be. You know, it's like I just caused a fire in my kitchen, or I just see something on fire. The candle tipped over, and there's my paper towels next to it, and it's catching on fire. Well, I'm not doing anything because it's the fire department's job to put out fires. True, it is. However, I could really put it out right now and not have to worry about them coming up and doing their job or whatever. It's just something you have to do. Hey, SOJ, are we close yet? You know, 55 in March, or you're not talking about me, or yay. I'm not talking about you, Danny. And I thought you had a different name on here. Did you have a different name? I thought you changed your name. I referenced someone above, I think, because it seemed like you're making a mess. It was you, but maybe not. Anyway, good to see you. Yeah, didn't you say something like I'm in class? Or was that somebody else that I thought it was you? Because you always say that. I'm in class. Hey, look who's in the house. Nothing good. Thanks for helping all of us. You are welcome. Thanks for coming. I appreciate it. Makes it worthwhile. Oh, yeah, that's right. You had the 38-year hairdressing career. So that was probably a light job. Was a light job, I'm pretty sure. And they're asking, why can't you do that job again? The women problems don't tend to be the reason why we can't do someone's hair. So you have to get into more nitty gritty. All right. I think those physical things, Dolphin, to show that you can't be on your feet that long. Your back's going to hurt, your knees are going to, whatever it is. I know. I just don't imagine. It could be even the neck. If the neck's really bad, that can really impact one's ability to sit at a desk. But you have to really find out, and you have to go through all the diagnostics. You really have to work it up. You can't just claim it. So it takes a lot of evidence building, filling in those gaps, you know. And I think we talked about this before, Dolphin. I've had my handful of hairdressers. Like, I never would have known. But it is quite a disabling career because of the postural requirements, mostly, I think. And I always wonder about the chemicals too. You guys deal with a lot of chemicals, and sometimes I wonder if that's has some of the impact of some of these things. Danny says, I switched back to this year. You mean the names? Inheritance says, thanks, they might force me into selling my home. No, you're going to choose to sell your home if you need the money. I don't really like the word force, guys, when it's not actually. That's like suggesting that someone else is responsible for making sure you stay in your home. But we're adults. So I'm always like, no, you just got to take some of the best steps. And I know that's not sitting right with you right now because I know you feel like you've been screwed by the system. I get it. But I do find that when we put it in that light and perspective, it just tends to hold us back more. Umo, look at you. How are you? Hi, Stephanie. You sent an application in for me in November. I signed and sent in the application from the local office on December 2nd. What's a normal time frame to show on SSA website showing? Wow. There is no normal, but it can take a few weeks. I've seen it take longer than that, but I think they're doing a little better now. Usually the longer thing is they get that done and they take forever to get me hooked up to the ERA and stuff. So hopefully, it'd be nice if it was by the end of the year, right? What we will end up doing is you and me recontacting them, like you by phone, me by Blizzard letter. It can be bad, but I don't anticipate to be bad, but it can be. There's always a certain percentage of cases in any kind of cycle that's like, oh my gosh, that SSA office is so slow. But it seems like the technology they're using to make things streamlined and better, the organizational efforts have really, really done really great so far in terms of improving what was. And I think it's because maybe there is a guy at the helm, love him or not, he knows how to do that. You know, Besignano, that he ran a big company and made it more efficient and made it faster, made this, you know. So I think that is to the benefit. Umo says they received my signed application sent by a certified mail return receipt. Oh, good. And you uploaded it to the portal? Dolphin says, oh, here we go, Dolphin. I had a recent rotator cuff surgery and SI injections. Oh, SI injections. So now we're talking about the lower half. That suggests that maybe walking and standing for too long hurts. If it is, you got to tell your doctor that over and over and over again. Be the squeaky wheel. I know, I could tell you worked for 38 years. You're probably the one that never complains. And obviously the rotator cuff surgery means, and the shoulders are never 100% after, right? That whole reaching thing is going to be a problem. That could be a problem with doing a sedentary job where you have to keep your arms out in front of you long. Maybe that shoulder can't do this. It's better than before, but it can't, you know. It sounds like you could have a good case. So just keep pushing on those things and complaining to your doctors before every visit and at the visit. Before every visit through the portal, you kvetch about, I just want to discuss this at our next thing. You know, the SI injections didn't work as much as I thought they would. I'm having difficulty walking more than short distances, and you know, I have to go back. You know, I have to cut my shopping trip short because you can't really be in there walking around for a whole 45 or whatever the case may be. It's just time to get it out there, you know. Umo says on SSA website, it still shows only the incomplete application. Oh, that means I haven't processed it yet. But you know, well, I'll talk to you later, but we'll see how many days it's been. I don't want you to start nagging them with unrealistic expectations of where is it. But if it's been more than 2 weeks since you got your green card back, for sure, I think you can call them. You're welcome. And Harry says, I'm 60-ish and they grilled me. Let's see. I won't say it. Hairdressers lift clients. Oh, wow. You lift client. I look like an old person needing help in and out of the chair. And I have 10-pound lifting restriction. So did you get that in front of the SSA? 10-pound lifting restriction can be helpful if it's believable. And I don't know why it wouldn't be. that would eliminate a medium level job for sure. So if you were denied, did you say you were denied? Just keep appealing and keep getting that information in, the new stuff. Pelvic and tailbone pain. So sitting is even hard. Like that sedentary job, you probably couldn't even do. From the mesh surgeries, UCLA will do full mesh removal and pelvic reconstruction. Pleasure. You're going to get there, Dolphin. Assuming you're not like running out of DLI, you'll get there. I believe. Sections of my bladder was removed. My heart goes out to you. That's doesn't make, it just affects things, right? Not just work, but all the time you got to think about things. We like to run through our lives without thinking about our bodies, right? The bodies are supposed to serve us. And then as we get older and things happen, it does it less and less. And it shocks us sometimes. But praying for you, Dolphin. We got RFT. It may not be bad. I was just wondering why she said it didn't show anything. Confused about that. Well, I'm wondering if it was already clear that you had osteoarthritis and it's not showing anything majorly different. If nothing's changed, then they might say it that way. I mean, have you looked at all your records? There you go. You're looking all tired now. That's because she had an Italian crouton. So think about that starch turning to sugar. I know we're not supposed to give too much people food, but she will be demanding. So I don't know. She likes fresh mozz too. Who knew? Tasha the Italian. I don't know. Girl after my own heart. I love Italian food. All right. All right, guys. Anything else I can help you with? Anything? If not, let's call it a day. All right. I'm going to go drink a gallon of water now. I see your little eyes. Her one eye's closing. The one you guys can see is still open, but the other one's gone. Anyhow. All right, guys. I hope you have a great rest of your week. I will be here next Wednesday, which is the 24th. So that's Christmas Eve. I will be here. It might be dead, but I figured I'm around, so I'm going to do it. So if anybody wants to plug in and wish a Merry Christmas to everybody, that would be great. Or a Happy Hanukkah or anything else. That would be great. I would love to see you all. I want to see if I can get a little decoration. Don't hold me to it, though, because I say things, and then when it comes to, like, things that are not business necessary, I tend to drop the ball. So there's always something more important to do, but maybe I will. We'll see. I've got a little table back there right now. I don't know if you can see it. So you can see the laptop on it. That's the other laptop. I can have them both kind of doing things at the same time. So, all right. I will talk to you guys later. And for the clients, I'll be talking to you anyway in the portal, most likely. All right. Have a great weekend, and I will see you soon. Please do feel free to pop into the 12 o'clock recorded videos and say hi there too. All right. Thanks, guys. Bye-bye. Oh, Charlene, I hear you. I see you. Love your bird. Thanks for that. I'll tell her. She's taking a little nappy. But yeah, thanks for popping in, Charlene. Bye-bye.